For Olga, a shipment has arrived.
Hey Tracy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Welcome. Did I just hear a shipment has arrived?
Yeah,
That's
it was supposed to go to my daughter's house, and when I ordered it, I had it come here, and I'm like, ugh.
sometimes it's just better that way, but sometimes I forget to change the address to where I
That's
want
what I
something
did.
to go.
Yep. It's funny, last week she was like, Mom, why am I getting these pee pads? You know? I'm like, that was supposed to come to my house.
Right, we got a great crowd tonight. How did everybody do from the weather last month? We had Milton coming through on the night of our Drink with Your Shrink. Did everybody do okay with Milton?
Yeah, just fine.
You did fine. Yeah, I don't know where, some of you guys are where I am in Jacksonville. Some of you are all over, so it just depends on where you were. But last time we were talking about hypnosis, and Milton Erickson is a pretty popular fellow for hypnosis, and then we had Hurricane Milton coming through as well. So it was just, you never know about hurricanes during this time of year. All right, you guys ready to jump in and get started? Welcome to Drink with Your Shrink. We've been doing this. I started this in May, like officially. I did it a few times a few years ago, but I officially started it in May of this year. I've lost count how many months that would be. But can you believe it's already November? We've had the election and the time change. I'm not sure which one is more emotionally charged at times, politics or the time change, because, it's 7 o'clock and it looks like it's bedtime, right? So let's go over some housekeeping things before we jump in. We're going to get started. Remember, you may see someone in here that you know, and that's okay if you do. Just please give them the privacy that you would want them to give you. What we talk about in here stays in here. So respect everyone's confidentiality, just like you would want them to do for you. We're not here to judge others. We're in this because we're all in this together. And if you have a lot of things going on in the background, like maybe the television or music or people coming and going, then I would ask you to mute yourselves. But if you don't, then unmute yourselves, because I want this to be an open forum. I want us to all talk. And if you want to leave your cameras off, that's fine. But if you want to turn them on and let me see all of your lovely smiling faces, that would be fun too. So unmute yourselves, because get ready tonight. We're going to be talking. We're going to all be engaging. This is going to be kind of like a group therapy session tonight, because I would imagine that harmony for the holidays doesn't always happen. And I want to hear what's happened for you during your holiday seasons. So if you have questions, if you have something that you want to chime in about, definitely unmute yourselves. Let me know. You can, I think there's a raise your hand option, and you can also send a chat into the chat box, or question into the chat box. Now, remember, if you are drinking alcohol, please drink responsibly. No one affiliated with Drink with Your Shrink is responsible for anything that you do during or after this time, especially if you are drinking alcohol. Okay, you guys all know that, right? I would tell you to give me a thumbs up, but most people have their cameras off, so I wouldn't be able to see you giving me that thumbs up. So drop me a note in the chat that says, I got it. I got it, because you know that I am not responsible. Nobody affiliated with me is responsible for anything that you do as a result of you drinking alcohol. And that means whether you're joining me live here on Tuesday, November 12th, or if you're watching the replay of this. I'm not responsible. Nobody is responsible for what you do except for you. So just drop me in the chat and it says, I got it. Okay. All right. So we are here to discuss serious topics but let's also remember we want to have fun. You know, like life is hard enough, life is heavy enough. Let's just have some fun too. Here at Drink with Your Shrink, we're going to have meaningful conversations. We're going to check in with our mental wellness. We're going to do it with a drink, with a refreshing beverage, depending on what you're drinking. You might have coffee, you might have tea, you might have something stronger. That's okay. I'm drinking, you really can't even see what I'm drinking. It's in a shaker cup. It's water with Crystal Light in it. It's watermelon strawberry flavor. So that's what I drink a couple of times a day. And then I usually just drink on water throughout the day. But tonight I'm having my Crystal Light. I typically refer to it as my pink drink because it is pink in color. So that's usually what I call it. And so I'm drinking my pink drink. So cheers to you, your mental health, the connections that you make, the sense of community that we're building with my pink drink. So the last time we met, we talked about hypnosis. I thought that was a pretty interesting night. If you didn't get to see it, I do have the replay up on my YouTube channel, and I believe it's also on my website. I think hypnosis is pretty fascinating. Maybe that's why I enjoyed the last time. We also had a guest speaker. Sometimes I do a guest speaker, sometimes I don't. I think it's fun to mix it up a little bit, but I'd love to hear your feedback on whether or not you prefer a speaker or not, or just keep it mixed up. I know some of you are here from Meetup, so if you have any positive feedback, would love to hear that. If you have any negative feedback, would love to hear that as well, maybe in a little bit more of a private setting. So as we officially get started, let me know, drop it there in the chat. Where are you from? Where are you watching from? So are you in Florida where everybody else is, or a lot of us are? Where are you from? Where are you from? Let's see. We got Neptune Beach. We got Jacksonville. Nice. So we got water. I love water. Oh, that's the next thing I want you guys to all tell me is, what are you drinking tonight? I got water. I got milk, wine spritzer. Wine spritzers are really good. Got a lot of Jacksonville people, St. Augustine, Live Oak. All right. That's down I-10. I've been there a time or two. We got water, coffee, Bryceville, and drinking water. All right. So the holidays, dealing with family. Wow. Anybody that's ever watched Friends, could it be any harder or any more difficult? Like, what would you guys say are some of your biggest challenges when it comes to dealing with family at the holidays? I would imagine, just based on my limited knowledge of all the people that I talk to, especially this coming up Thanksgiving and Christmas, because we just had this very electric, emotionally charged election. I would imagine that some of the biggest issues is, how do you handle politics, differing politics, and family dinners such as Thanksgiving? Anybody share that struggle or have experienced that? Getting some yeses. Yeah. So here's just a few quick ideas. And some of it is, you know what to do. This is your reminder. This is your permission to do it. To do it anyway, to do it even if it's hard, to do it even if it's uncomfortable. Set those boundaries. Be very clear and specific about what behavior you will and will not tolerate. And sometimes we have to communicate that in very firm ways. And, we want to be nice to our family. At least sometimes we want to be nice to our family. We do have to set limits, and we have to set boundaries. And in doing that, we also have to manage our expectations too, because we know we cannot control other people. We know we cannot control how they respond or how they act. So we do have to sometimes lower our expectations of those around us, especially if you know that you fall on one side of the aisle and maybe Uncle Tom or Aunt Nancy or somebody, they fall on the other side of the aisle. You know that it has the potential to get heated. So lower your expectations and know that, okay, you're not going to change their mind. You're not going to get them to see your side of anything. That's not the goal of Thanksgiving dinner. That's not the goal of a Friendsgiving or the goal of Christmas morning. So lowering your expectations might be really, really helpful. Another thing that you can do at the holiday time is to take a break. Give yourself permission to just step away and step outside of the gathering. I mean, fortunately, we're here in Florida. The weather's not going to be miserable cold. If we need to take a walk outside, things get overheated or overwhelming, you can probably somebody has a dog there, grab a dog, grab a leash, say, you know what, I'm going to go take little Fido here for a walk. Gives you a chance to get out, walk around, regain your composure. Exercise is one of the best things that we can do to get our physical health in a good place, but also to get our mental health in a really good place. So if you need to take a break, take a break. Maybe you can't get outside for whatever reason. There's another room in the house. Maybe you go to a back room or you go to a bathroom and you just take a few minutes to yourself, whether you're doing some deep breathing or getting into one of those power poses that we talked about a couple of months ago. Whatever you need to do for you, you give yourself permission and you just step away from the chaos and give yourself that time, because you know what, you can do that. Give yourself permission, and if somebody gives you a hard time, you just say, hey, Dr. Tracy said I need to do this, and that's all you got to say, and you go do that. Another thing, and I learned this the hard way years ago, is limit your time in stressful situations, which means maybe you were planning to carpool with someone or you were going to let someone else drive you there. You're going to drive yourself so that when you're ready to go, you can go and you don't have to wait on someone else to get you out of there or wait till someone else is ready to leave. That you can, when you're ready, you've got your keys in your hand and you can just get out of there. We know politics is a heated discussion. There's a lot of other topics that come up and people get really heated about. My daughter is getting married in a few months, and right now that is just a really hot topic in our family, and not a lot of agreement in some of those areas. And so we've just learned that some things we just can't talk about with certain family members. We have to keep it to the parts of the wedding that we can talk about, that are a happier part or a more neutral topic. So stay away from the parts of the conversation that are more controversial or problematic, and know in advance kind of like where to stay and what to stay away from, because that's going to be really helpful too. So there's like a quick 4 or 5 ideas, super quick, that could help. Does anybody have any feedback on any of that, or maybe some examples of a time that you've used some of those, and did it work? Did it not work? I want to hear what's happened to you at some of your family events. Dealing with the girl, you have gained weight after they haven't seen somebody in a while. We'll talk about that in a minute. Getting the family together, especially when they have multiple families to be with. My partner will let me set limits, drive myself. Yeah. So as you guys have things that you want to share, please just jump in. Dealing with the girl you have gained weight after they haven't seen you in a while. I don't know if you guys have heard of this guy. He's an attorney. His name is Jefferson Fisher, and I follow him. And he has some of the best ways to handle people that say the most hurtful, random things like that. And I think something that you could say to that would just be like, I'm sorry, what did you say? And make them repeat it. And if they do repeat it, you might say, are you trying to be hurtful? Are you trying to be helpful? And sometimes just something like that, you're not being mean or cruel or rude or anything like that. You're just trying to understand what is their motive. Most likely people are not trying to be hurtful, but you know what? Nobody needs to tell us that we've gained weight. When we've gained weight, especially as women, we know we've gained weight, right? Who needs somebody else to tell us? We know. And I've said that to people before when they pointed out, because my weight has been up and down my whole life, and people will be like, "Oh, you've put on some weight." Yes, I have. Thank you for pointing that out. Does that make you feel better? Of course, I'm a sarcastic, snarky, not always so pleasant kind of person, but that's my style. But I would definitely think of something, come up with something that, if you're pretty sure you're going to get that comment from someone, I would come up with something that you can say that's comfortable for you, that you can practice a few times in advance, so that when you do hear it, you can say it and it just kind of rolls off your tongue and it sounds natural and comfortable. And that way you're prepared in that moment. And it might be something snarky or sarcastic if that's your personality, or it might be something like, "I'm sorry, what did you say?" Or you might even just look at them and not even acknowledge that they said anything at all. You might just look at them and then turn around and walk away. We know that making a negative comeback back to them isn't going to be helpful, because then you get into this negative interaction of who can hurt whom. The word, like, we're not doing that. That's not what the holidays are for. That's definitely not going to help with the harmony. But to just be prepared with some type of response, if at all, or you just look at them and walk away, but be prepared with something that you could say that's comfortable and fitting for you. Getting the family together, especially when they have multiple families to be with. This comes up a lot. My children's dad and I are not together anymore, but we live local. So my kids are always like, well, got to see both mom and dad. And then they've got significant others and they want to see their significant others' family. So we've always had this kind of, at least for a while, we had this plan where I would do brunch, or I would do the morning, come see me for an hour and a half in the morning, and then go have your day to do whatever. This year's a little bit different because my one daughter wants to be in Tampa for part of the day. And I was like, you know what, kiddo, see me the day before, see me 2 days before, see me 3 days after. It doesn't matter to me. Like, we don't have to celebrate a holiday on that holiday to feel like we've celebrated a holiday. And that means I may not get all 3 of my kids together on a particular day to celebrate. And that just means I now need to be flexible. Do I like it? No. Do I love it? Absolutely not. But I'm looking at it also as that gives me the flexibility to do other things. And maybe I get to hang out with someone that I want to go hang out with, or visit friends that I'd like to see. And I don't have any family. I think people that know much about me know that I don't have any. I have my husband's family and they are wonderful, but I don't have any, like, my family of origin or anything. I don't have siblings that I talk to or hang out with, or parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles or anything like that. Like, that's not a part of my life. So, but I do have wonderful friends who have become my family. And so I'm learning to be flexible, because my kids are all in their 20s and they're adults and they're they're learning their own way in life. So they don't need to be held to this obligation that they have to see mom on a certain day to celebrate that particular holiday. So I think it's important for us to all remember flexibility. Christmas can be celebrated any day, not just December 24th or 25th. So that's just my take on that. My partner won't let me set boundaries. I'm not exactly sure how to respond to that one because I would need a little bit more context to really respond to that. But that sounds like that needs to be some conversations before you get to that event. Maybe there's some couples counseling that needs to be had, some individual counseling that needs to be had to address that, because you got to set limits. You probably have to start setting limits with your partner first, and then you set limits with the family, because it sounds like maybe somebody's not liking boundaries and limits. So, oh yeah. Anna said Jefferson Fisher, he is great. I like him. So Iris said, the people in my family are like the Hartfields and McCoys, never forget an unfortunate event statement. You know what? Sometimes we get to the point where we just don't go to family events too. Like, who says you have to go? There's nothing saying you don't have to go. What's going to be the consequence if you don't go to a family event? Somebody's going to say something bad about you. Somebody's going to talk about you. Okay, they're going to talk about you regardless of whether you go or not. So what difference does it make? Maybe you choose not to go. Maybe you choose to go really early and you drop off a casserole and a bouquet of flowers and a bottle of wine, and you say, I'm so sorry, I can't stay, but I wanted to make an appearance. And you stay for 10 minutes and then you're out the door. And then you've kind of done both. You got the best of both worlds. But you just don't, what is the word I'm looking? Expose yourself. You don't expose yourself to the why. Like, you just don't expose yourself to all the heartache that sometimes comes along with these types of situations. And just because they're your family doesn't mean you have to like them, love them, hang out with them, celebrate with them. What
That's
I
the
have
thing,
learned
though.
is
I do like them. I like them individually. I get along with all of them. I'm a Switzerland kind of, but I just wish there was some way to diffuse the ridiculousness of holding on to these hurts from the past or events or something ridiculous that may occur. Some people drink too much in my family too. So that's the other thing, is trying to hide the liquor. I don't know. I like
do you know
them.
what? That takes me back to one of the very first things I said. You got to manage your expectations, like
Oh, right. Yeah, maybe.
you don't have any control.
Yeah,
You
you're
don't have
right.
any control over what they do or how they respond. You only have control over you. You limit their access to you. You get out, you take a break, you walk the dog, you drive yourself so you can leave if you need to. Maybe you decide you're in charge of games and you bring some silly, goofy, fun game that you guys can all play to keep everybody's attention focused on something else besides sitting around picking on each other or talking about the bad Christmas past or Thanksgiving past. Maybe it's time for new
That's a good one.
traditions.
I think I'm gonna do that one. That is a good one. I just have to think of a fun game. Got one? You got one?
Well, you know
Right.
what? We've got the internet, you've got Chat GBT, you could go to thrift stores and find all kinds of games. You could just type in like fun holiday games for X number of people. If you've got 10 people or 30 people, however many people are going to be there. There are so many different options that you could do. I've seen tons of them. And then you can just find something to keep everyone occupied that's going to take a little bit of time. Maybe there's 2 sets of games. There's one for the little kids or the teenagers. There's one for the adults. Maybe there's a couple different games that you do throughout the time that you're there, depending on how long you're there. but giving people something to focus on besides just picking and poking at one another might be a really good idea. And
I
then
think
you
I like
take
that
charge
one.
of that.
Yeah, I've done that in the past where I've given them a character that they don't know who they're supposed to, and people walk by and try and give them hints and stuff. So I think I will. That's a really good idea. I just forgot about doing that. I've only almost been saying to myself, but I like Thanksgiving, but I like seeing my family. But the other holidays, I think I'm going snorkeling or something. Yeah. But I will try that. Thank you so much. I had forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about someone says they're going on a cruise over Thanksgiving? Christmas is still up in the air. I love that idea. Going to a cruise, or years ago, I used to take my kids and we would just go to Cracker Barrel. Like, I wasn't going to fight or argue. Like, we're just going to Cracker Barrel. And then we would go to the movies on Thanksgiving afternoon. And then that way we didn't have to fight or struggle or clean up a bunch of dishes. Again, I don't have a family of origin that I would go hang out with. So I have always learned to get creative and create my own traditions and my own things to do. And I love traveling at the holidays. I've started taking my kids on a trip around Christmas. So it's very expensive, I will say that. But at the same time, I get them uninterrupted for 6, 7 days because I have a captive audience and they can't go anywhere. And so then I have them all to myself. And then we get back, and a couple of days later is Christmas. And it's okay with me if I don't see them on Christmas Day, because I just had 7 days uninterrupted time with my kids who are in their 20s, who otherwise, I might see once or twice a week, if that sometimes, especially the boy, because you know how boys are. Sometimes they just get busy and forget their mamas. He calls often, but I don't always see him. So, just to get creative and create new traditions. And I love traveling. I think traveling around the holidays or on the holidays is great. And this year, I think my husband and I are planning to potentially go to like Universal for Thanksgiving Day. So again, no mess, no cleanup, no struggling over who's going to fight, who's going to drink too much alcohol, any of those things. So very good idea. I like those ideas. Janet said he's afraid I will spark conflict, and peace is super important to him. You know what? Peace is important to a lot of people. There's a way to set boundaries without being in conflict. You can use I statements. I feel comfortable doing this. I feel better if we could do this. Using those I statements versus pointing the finger at, you always do this and you always do that. Just being able to say, this is what I'm comfortable doing. This is what my plan is what my expectations are, those kind of things. So I think everybody should be in counseling, but sometimes definitely couples counseling. If Janet, if you and your partner are struggling with how to communicate and support one another as you're looking at setting boundaries and having those types of conversations, either with each other or with extended members of the family. So I did a pie in the face game one year where you use whipped cream. It was a blast. I know personally, I don't like anything in my face. I don't like going underwater. I don't like, things like that in my face. But you know what? A lot of people would like the pie in the face game where you use whipped cream. And so that would definitely be a lot of fun, but then a lot of messy cleanup. But that's okay. Some people are okay with that. My family plays categories. You have to be quiet and think of answers. Definitely like that idea. Keep it simple for less stress. Yeah, for sure. Oh, okay. Somebody's asking, how do you play pie in the face? Who said that? Olga, was that you? Pie in the face game?
Yeah, I bought it at Target. It's just a little game that you put the whipped cream on with a little hand and you move the lever. And at some point the lever releases. And so you never know who's going to get the pie in the face. And you just kind of, keep rotating it around. And it's actually not that messy, but I was surprised how many people wanted to participate.
That's funny. And it's actual whipped cream and it gets in your face and it's a mess.
Yeah, it's a little hand, so it's just a little bit of whipped cream. It doesn't cover your whole face, just enough
Okay.
that, your nose and maybe your cheeks. But I think the thrill of it is the not knowing when who is it going to release on?
Right. Yeah. I could see some people would love that. They love that thrill, that adrenaline rush. And then people like me, like, I don't like a mess. I don't want anything in my face. So you'd have people that would love it and then people that wouldn't. I saw this one game. I have no idea what it's called, but somebody went to like the dollar store or the Dollar Tree, maybe Five Below, and they got a bunch of little toys, little gadgets, little fun things, think stocking stuffers. And they got saran wrap and they just kind of started wrapping all of it. And they got into this like huge ball of saran wrap, but it had all these little toys in it, like lip glosses and different things, maybe like dollar bills rolled up or $5 bills rolled up. And everybody would take turns passing this, big saran wrap of little trinkets around. And when it was your turn, you could take off the saran wrap as quick as you could. There was a timer, and maybe you had like 10 or 15 seconds, and whatever you could get out in that amount of time was yours to keep. And then when the timer went off, you had to pass it to someone else, and they could like try to get the saran wrap off, because saran wrap sticks to itself better than it sticks to anything else sometimes. So that was just a fun game, and you got to keep the little trinkets that were in there, whatever they were. You have to know who's coming and what kind of things they might like. Categories, I think somebody mentioned, or Scrabble, or that drawing game where you're drawing. Is it Pictionary? I think it's called. So something like that. Maybe you have a few different choices to keep people occupied and engaged, for sure. So does anybody want to share like what has been their most difficult or like really a big struggle at a particular holiday season, things that just didn't go well?
Hi, sis, this is Sheila here.
Hey Sheila, how's it going?
Good. I was gonna mention earlier, when Iris was saying about, how the family acts, like I've been dealing with that similar situation since I was young, very young. And 20 years later, I think that the key for me has been managing my expectations and knowing my family. So I enjoy spending time with them, but I know alcohol plays a big part of it. So I know that after certain times, so let's say we get all together for Christmas at like midday, I know about 5 o'clock it's time for me to go home, because that's when the chaos is gonna start.
So you already know your limits, your expectations, and you have an exit plan in place, and you're probably keeping an eye on the time to know, okay, we're getting close. I'm going to have to go ahead and make sure I'm wrapped up with what my part is, whatever that is. Dinner, giving gifts, saying hello to everyone, and then a few hours later you got to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like the idea of having some strategies of getting you out of there, even if it's something like, hey, we've got to go see another family member, or we need to go check on our neighbor who is alone this evening and asked us to bring him a plate of food. Even if you just come up with some reason that you need to leave, that's always fine too. So Jason shared that sometimes finances can be a big stressor around the holidays, giving gifts, travels, food, entertaining. Sticking to your budget is really important to keep harmony for the holidays, but that's mainly for ourselves, right? Because holidays, people want to go all out and do for their kids and their grandkids and their neighbors and their coworkers and their friends and their families, and finances can really take a big hit at the holiday season. So another thing to be really mindful of, and setting your limits and setting your boundaries and managing your expectations. Not everybody needs to open up multiple gifts. I take my kids on a trip. They know they're not getting a gift from me. Like, the trip is the gift. They also know that mama better be getting a gift for Christmas because they didn't pay for my trip. So that's an expectation we have been learning over the last few years since I started doing this.
Tracy, one of the things that I do, and I learned this a long time ago in college, throughout the year, we keep a list of those things that we either, they're things that you want. They're not a must-have, but it could be, I need a new journal, or I need some, pen, and we keep that. That's the Christmas list. So in November, we always say, send the Christmas list out. And it can, different price ranges, but at least that way, we choose one gift out of that list, and the person gets something that they either couldn't get for themselves throughout the year, but they would really like to have, or it's a need that they would want, and they just
Yeah.
didn't have the funds for it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love Christmas lists. Then you're not questioning, am I getting the right thing? Am I getting the right size? Amazon makes it so great. When my kids were little, the grandparents would ask for the Christmas list. Now, like, you can just put it all on Amazon, make it really easy. But I do think it's a great idea to do a Christmas list. I love that. Absolutely. So Iris said, what I used to do is host Thanksgiving with everyone's help. I like that. Schedule a walk, games, explore the area for sure. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you can ask people to help. I love delegating. There was a show, I don't know if any of you watched it. It was a show on one of the streaming channels called This Is Us. And every year on Thanksgiving, they had all these traditions that they did based on when they were little kids. And they would go on a walk, and they would have this particular dessert, and they would have this particular character that showed up. And they did this even into their full adulthood as they had their own children. And then they realized that it was time to add some new traditions as their family expanded. So, having structure is a great way to celebrate the holidays. So this is great. Is there anybody else that wants to share or talk? I want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to share anything that they're comfortable sharing.
I'll share a couple things.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so I want to go back to the lady that said dealing with people saying, oh, you're fat or you've gained weight or something like that. That's a very sensitive one for us females, right? And again, I adore Jefferson Fisher. If you ever get a chance, listen to him. And I just want to add to what you said. Yeah, lean in. And his facial expressions are great. And he's like, lean in and just look at him with that blank look, like, excuse me? I just want to make sure I heard you correctly, or oh, what was it you were trying to get across? I just love all that. But also, in addition, and I don't know who believes in it, but I think it helps with those affirmations. So bullet up, put it on an index card, put it in your pocket, prepare before you leave your house, and just go over it. I am beautiful. I am at a healthy weight. I am healthy. Just keep telling you these positive things, because those little negatives are going to try to beat you down, and you need that ammo. So that's one thing. And then as far as the Christmas, yeah, I'm a minimalist. I've been working on being a minimalist for years. And by now, most of my friends know it, and my family. And I still have this one friend that always gives me gifts. I'm like, stop giving me stuff, because it's stuff. But
stuff.
my kids know, like, if I need something, that's what I want. And if I know they need something, that's what they're going to get. Like, I will get them, like if they need a set of pans for cooking, I want to give them something that is useful and practical. And I try to send that message across as well. So that's all I have to add. And thank you so much, Dr. Tracy, for doing this. I love you.
So much. That is so sweet. I really appreciate hearing that. I appreciate your feedback and you chiming in. I really do. As we think about other topics, we're going to switch gears for just a minute. What other topics come to mind that you guys would like to talk about maybe next month or into 2025? What would you like to discuss as we gear up for other sessions ahead? Does anything come to mind for you?
I'll tell you what comes to mind for me is dealing with my adult children who still act like they're the children. And it seems to be some sibling rivalry for my attention or something like that, that I have had enough, you know?
I'm gonna write that down because I got some of those myself. Dealing with adult children. Isn't that an oxymoron? Adult children. That's like jumbo shrimp. Thank you, Iris. Anybody else want to share? Dealing with exes. Ooh. That's a good one. What else do we have that we might want to talk about? I think it's kind of cliche, but there's always in January, you know, dealing with New Year's resolutions. I like to call them New Year's intentions, because we all know that resolutions don't get carried out. They don't get, you know, they're over before they really get started good. I always like to call them intentions, New Year's intentions, because I intend to do something is different than I have a resolution to do something. So that might be definitely something we could talk about in January, is how to make those stick. Managing stress and triggers. These are great ideas. You guys keep them coming.
Did I miss the one? I think I did, about morning routines. You did that one already?
Didn't. I've mentioned it like that I may do like a morning drink with your shrink, but I just haven't done it yet. I don't know if there's enough interest to do a morning one. Are you
No,
talking
no,
about
no. No,
more-
no, I meant like the importance of morning routines, and maybe
Ah,
maybe share ideas of what people do and how they make it successful for them.
got it. Okay. So not time wise, but
No.
just the nighttime episode, but make it on morning routines. Got it. Okay.
Right. And the reason why I bring that up, because I kind of think it segues into the goal setting for maybe 2025 or something like that. I think also, I hate that word resolutions. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah, that would be great.
Okay. All right. I got that. How to set boundaries with loved ones, setting boundaries. Great topic. How to be more kind in an unkind world. Yeah. So I went to a class at a conference a few months ago. No, I guess about a year ago now. And there were like different breakout sessions in each of the hours, you know, hour and a half. And there was 4 that you could choose from in each section of the conference. And one of the options to go to was how to overcome people pleasing. And that room was packed. And the other 3 options during that portion of the conference, I think like maybe there were 10 people in all of the other options. So this entire conference, this room was packed on how to overcome people pleasing. And I've wondered if that might be an option. You know, are we people pleasers? And I think women by nature are typical people pleasers. And why are we people pleasers? And do we need to be people pleasers? I consider myself a reformed people pleaser because I don't please it doesn't matter to me about pleasing people. Conflict doesn't bother me like it does a lot of people. You hear people say all the time, oh, I hate conflict. I hate being in confrontations with people. That doesn't ever bother me. And I've wondered if maybe other people would like to not be a people pleaser anymore. But is that just also another way for saying I'm an asshole too? So like somewhere there's that fine line of walking the balance of what that looks like. So, but I like how to be kinder in an unkind world. We've got prioritizing mental health. I think coming to drink with your shrink once a month is definitely prioritizing your mental health. How to get involved in groups without the fear of rejection, or maybe just dealing with the fear of rejection, because we can have the fear of rejection in every part of our lives. People pleasing. You guys are liking the people pleasing. Learning to say no. No is a complete sentence. I used to say to people, oh, I'm so sorry, I just can't. Feeling like I needed to apologize and explain myself. And now I'm just like, no. Sometimes I'll even go, that's not going to happen. And I like that that show. I don't remember the name. I don't watch a lot of television, so I don't remember the name of the show, but his name is Simon, and it's something about singers that want to like go on to do more with their careers, and he'd be like, yeah, that's a no for me, that's a no for me. And I've said that to him, like, that's a no for me, that's just not going to happen. My son, his saying is, that sounds like a terrible idea. And that's another way to say no, but no is a complete sentence. And just like with Jefferson Fisher, you just no. And look at him. Like, no. So we got fear of rejection, people pleasing, overcoming people pleasing. All right, these are
I
great.
think it was
topics.
American Got Talent or something like that. Maybe that's what it
Something
was.
like that.
Yeah,
America's
but
Got Talent. I was
but
thinking
yeah.
America's Funniest Videos, but that's not the right guy.
American Idol.
American Idol. That's
Oh
it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, good one. So
Yeah.
just real quick, speaking of no, like I took a little card, like an ID thing card to Office Depot and said, could you please laminate this? I've taken things to be laminated before. It takes less than 5 minutes. This lady literally gets behind the desk, looks at her computer, and she says, that'll be ready in an hour and a half. And I looked at her, my mouth dropped wide open, and she goes, oh, you don't have to come back in an hour and a half. You can come back later. And I'm like, I didn't plan on coming back at all. I wanted to get it now.
While I wait.
Right. So here's a good example of setting her boundaries. Like, I'm like, okay, I admire her because she ended up telling me, I have too many jobs ahead of you. Okay, fine. I get that. She was setting her boundaries. That's something we're not all good at, but still, I'm thinking in the back of it only takes a couple of minutes. So it's like,
right.
But yeah.
Right. Just do it my way, lady.
Right.
Right. And you know what? You could have said, is there any way you could do it really quick for me? Because I need it.
And I like that. Yeah, because I'm that person that I need to work on assertiveness, because I walk away and I'm getting in my car and I'm thinking, what could I have done differently? Should I have asked to see a manager? And I like your advice. Yeah. There's a
saying that I use a lot. I will, if I need something or I want something, I will say, if I don't ask, the answer is always no. So I'm just going to ask. I'm just going to throw it out here. Is there any way I could get this done like now? Because again, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So if you ask, at least there's a chance that you're going to get what you're looking for. The other thing is, I used to say this all the time, depending on where I'm at and who my audience is, I'll say, well, you know, the Bible says you have not because you ask not. So here I am asking. Can
Ooh, I
I
like that.
can I get this? So I will tell you guys this story. I've told this story before. This was about 15, 16 years ago. I was at a training. There were about 10 or 12 of us, and we were all given a sheet of paper. It was like a menu. They were providing our lunch, and they gave us a sheet of paper, and we had to circle, you know, what we wanted to eat, like this entree or this side item or this dessert, this salad dressing. You know, we had to circle all of our items that we wanted. And at the bottom, it said, you know, what do you want to drink? Do you want water or do you want sweet tea? Well, I didn't want either one of those. I wanted a Diet Coke. So I wrote in on the bottom, I'd like a Diet Coke. So when we get to the table where it was our food was already prepared for us, there was one seat that had a Diet Coke sitting at it. And I knew that was my seat because there was only the one, and I knew I had asked for that Diet Coke. So I go and sit at that place, and everybody said to me, they're like, Tracy, how did you get a Diet Coke? And I said, I asked for it. Like, to me, it just was the most simplest way. Like, I asked for it. And after that, everybody else there asked, I want a Coke. I want a Diet Coke. I want a Sprite. Do you have orange juice? Like, because of that, everybody else got something besides water and sweet tea. But it was only because I asked for it. And I could have just circled water or sweet tea because those were the only two choices to circle. That's not what I wanted. I wanted a Diet Coke. So if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And that doesn't mean we have to be mean or rude or disparaging to someone. You can even be funny about it. Most of the times when you're funny and you make somebody laugh, they're going to go ahead and do what you're asking them to do. Like, listen, I know the Bible says if you have not because you ask not. So I'm just going to ask. And you got a good shot. You got just as good a shot as any of getting them to do what you're asking them to do. Especially when you know a lamination is going to take like a minute. So right, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm so glad that you guys all came and hung out with me tonight. I know we switched the day from first Monday to second Tuesday, so I appreciate everyone's flexibility and coming along with me for this change. Hopefully, some people that couldn't attend on Mondays could attend tonight, so I do appreciate everybody coming over. I will be sending out an email tomorrow, making sure everybody gets a chance to get the replay if you're wanting it. Next month, we'll be meeting on the second Tuesday again. Let me see what that date is. That date is going to be December the 10th. So December the 10th, we'll meet again. We'll drink with our shrink. And I don't know what the topic's going to be. You guys gave me some great topics tonight. So I'll definitely pick one of those and we'll figure it out. And then I think January will probably definitely be New Year's intentions because that's what everybody talks about in January. So we got to kind of follow the trend there. But thank you all so much for attending. I appreciate your love and your support. And you guys make it all worth it. So I appreciate that. Don't forget, if you need counseling, if you are in New York or Florida and you need counseling, I am licensed in both of those states. I also have other people that are in my Florida office. If you want to know more about hypnosis, we do offer free consultations to know more about hypnosis. And Anna said, let me move my calendar out of the way. Anna said, yes, I do have a list of topics that we've covered in the past. And I can you know what, I'll include that in my email tomorrow. A list of past topics. They should all be on my YouTube channel, except you know what, there was 1 month I forgot to hit record. So there was 1 month that I didn't record, but all the other months I have there. So we might have to do that topic again just so I can record it. But But yeah, I'll create a list of everything we've already covered and make sure everybody has access to that. So, all right, you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night, and I'll see you next month. Okay. Bye. Good night.